Hey, I'm Jeff and welcome back to another video. If your plant looks like this, then it's probably because of you. Now this plant just so happens to be mine, but if you're seeing droopy stems and yellow leaves, it's probably something wrong with the roots. There are endless posts online with people asking, what's wrong with my plant, but it's really hard to diagnose yellow leaves unless you better understand the environment that you have it in. Now, like I pretty much say in every one of my videos, you have to make sure that you're giving the plant the right amount of light. For a pothos plant, anywhere between kind of that like higher end of low light or medium light. So kind of around that 200 maybe to 300 foot candle range would be ideal for these plants. And then you just have to strategically go along and try and troubleshoot what's wrong with your plant and figure out what you need to improve so that you can have a healthier plant. So let's start with light. Now, despite being right next to a south-facing window, this plant is not receiving the greatest light. And I do have a light meter right here. So up kind of at the leaves, this is only getting about 67, 65 foot candles. So this is very low light, and as you can see, this light is not on. It actually has a separate switch, which I completely forget to turn on all the time, so let's fire it up. And when it gets plugged in, you can see there is lots of nice light hitting the leaves now. And now when I place the light sensor back up on the leaves here, you can see it's around kind of that 300 foot candle range, so 340. So much better light than it was getting before. Now, I think in a lot of situations, people see a struggling plant like this and they immediately just drench it with water. Now, if you don't have it in the correct light, then you can run into issues of root rot. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, you can also get root rot from letting your plants get too dry. So I'm just going to use this little bamboo stick here. I'm just going to place it in the soil. Now I'm going to let this sit here for a minute. Now when you pull out the stick, if there's soil sticking to the wood stick, then you know the soil is damp or wet, and then you can kind of gauge on the stick the level of moisture. Now when I pull this one out, there is absolutely nothing sticking to the wood, so this thing is absolutely bone dry. Now I am a chronic underwaterer, and terracotta compounds that. Terracotta is very porous, it absorbs soil moisture, and it evaporates it out really quickly. So I'm going to actually repot it into a plastic nursery pot, and this should help retain a little bit more moisture in the soil. Yellow leaves, as well as kind of these browning crispy edges, can be a sign that it is really dry or it is underwatered. So I'm just going to remove this leaf right here. You can just pluck it right off like that and throw it away. Now I'm going to absolutely soak this and give it a good thorough watering. I'm going to let this sit here for probably about 10 or 15 minutes and let the plant soak up what it needs. Most times you'll start to see leaves kind of lower on the stem, and then they will work their way towards the end of the stem. So very much like this one right here, it is starting to turn yellow. It is kind of the last leaf along that portion of the stem. So same with this one, I'm just going to snap it off like that and throw that away. So just cleaning it up a little bit, and I'm going to give it just a little bit more water here. I'm probably going to use the entire can here because I want to give it a good soaking. And then I'm going to let it sit in this little plastic saucer, and then it should wick up some of that moisture through the drain hole as well, and that way these roots can be thoroughly watered. It's only been about a minute or so, but I'm just going to put the bamboo skewer right back in, right to the bottom. I'm going to let it sit there for a moment. And then what I like to do is just place my finger kind of at the top of the soil. That way I know where the top of the soil is. And you can see there is some dirt sticking to the wood now. And it's pretty much at the level where my finger is. So this is pretty much saturated from the top down. Now, if your plant was in low light and you checked the soil and the soil was thoroughly saturated, then yellow leaves are probably due to like an overwatering issue. It's less common to have like a nutrient issue, but I know this one is well fertilized because I put slow release fertilizer in this pot. That little round ball right there is a fertilizer pellet. Every time I water it, it releases some fertilizer in the soil. So I know this isn't a fertilizing issue. Mine, well, obviously we know is a watering issue, but that is just another thing to watch for if you're starting to see yellow leaves. Now the size of the pot that you choose as well as the soil can have a really big factor on how your plant grows as well. If you choose a pot that's way too large, there's just way more soil than the roots can soak up if you give it a good thorough watering. The soil is going to stay wet or moist for much longer than if it was in a smaller pot. And for soil, if you use just a regular potting mix, that's pretty much peat based. It's really heavy. It retains moisture. You can see this potting mix is really chunky. It does have some moisture retention qualities, but it also provides a lot of airflow to the roots. If you don't have airflow, they are pretty much going to suffocate after you water it. And that's the case if you were to use just a regular potting soil. Like I said, it's very peat based, it's heavy, it's going to just suffocate those roots, and then you're going to run into root rot. Now the last thing before I repot it into something like this, I'm going to first pull it out of the pot, look at the roots, and then gauge which pot is appropriate. But the last thing you want to look for is pests. Now I have houseplant pests upstairs and downstairs, but I don't see anything on this plant. It was just severely underwatered, so it's time to put it in a better pot, something that is not going to dry out as fast. I'm really curious to see what the roots look like here, so I'm just going to try and keep this intact. I'm just going to pop it out of the pot here. If it is root bound, it's not terrible, but definitely the roots have gotten really dry, and I might actually have to find just a slightly larger pot than this one right here. So I'm just going to run out to my shed. It's like -20 out, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I found a pot like this. It's just slightly larger than the one that it's originally in here. So I'm just going to pull this out and size it up in this pot. And I might actually just keep it, I'm going to put a little bit of soil in the bottom. And then I'm going to add a bunch of soil on top, just so those bare sections can root a little bit better into the soil here. So if this plant recovers, then I do have a couple future video ideas that I want with this. So when you get a plant that's pretty bare on top like this, I'm going to make a video on showing you how to correct that problem. So I'm just going to dump all this soil on, just shake it up here so all the soil goes to the bottom. Then I'm going to give it a good thorough watering again, and then I'm just going to let it recover, soak up that moisture, and hopefully we should see some nice healthy leaves again here. Now that I put dry soil on the bottom and the top, I'm going to take it over to my bathroom here, give it a good thorough soaking, and that should correct these kind of droopy, saggy leaves. So it's well watered. I'm going to use this outer pot here as well, just to kind of lock in some of that moisture so it can get rehydrated. So I'm going to place this back on the shelf, and then we'll check back in a couple days and we'll see what the leaves look like. Well, I just got home from work, and less than 24 hours, this thing has perked right up. The leaves are no longer droopy or saggy, but it looks like we have a couple of them that are starting to turn yellow, like this one right here, as well as this one. This one kind of looks like maybe like a nutrient issue, but let's see where it is along the stem. Oh yeah, we're gonna be losing these two right here. They're starting to turn yellow, so they are kind of lower on the stem here as well. With the exception of these two right here, the rest of the leaves actually look pretty good. It's pretty amazing how quickly a plant will bounce back once you figure out what was causing the issue and then make the appropriate corrections. I just want to show this right here. This root, I'm just going to make sure that it gets placed back in the soil so that it can root down there, and hopefully it'll branch out in an area too. I'm going to cut off these couple leaves right here. This one is looking pretty yellow, so I'll just pluck this one off like that. And same with this one down here too. Like that. I don't see any other yellow leaves. These two I'll let kind of get a little bit more yellow, and then they can die off. This one, I'm not too sure what's going on with this one, but I'll leave it for now. But like I said, I'll be making another video down the road showing how to correct a bare pothos. Like it looks like a balding head right there. So I'll make another video down the road to make it nice and full again. So I think that's going to be pretty much it for this video. If you have any comments or questions, where's my pencil? Leave it down in the comment section down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching all my videos. Take care, everyone. Bye. it.